So, in summary, 3.5 billion rand for the next year, a big part of which is going into solar, and a big part of which is going into long-term sustainability by creating deposition facility. Of course, in the Far West Rand, the phase 2 drive of the West Rand operations, that involves lifting a whole range, a whole cluster of tailings from areas where at the moment they're still built over environmentally sensitive areas and pose a risk to underground water. And a big part of the environmental authorization associated with the Far West Gold operations, a big part of the motivation involves the removal of those tailings to areas where they no longer pose that risk. So there's a societal aspect, there's an environmental aspect, and the nice part of it about it is that in doing it, we can contribute to the economy and provide to delivering to the democratic ideals of South Africa. Now, a question obviously that one has to ask when looking at these sorts of numbers is, are you investing it in the sort of environment where it's responsible to invest this kind of money? And you switch on the television and maybe you would wonder. You read the Fraser Institute's report and maybe you would wonder. You look at where capital is going, and a lot of it's going away from South Africa. Not much or less is coming into South Africa. So one has to reflect on these things carefully before you commit your shareholders funding into that. And we believe that it is responsible to invest in South Africa. We do believe that South Africa doesn't stand or fall based on the quality of political governance in the country. There's a private sector and there's a society which, when they join forces, become unstoppable and can really turn things around. So increasingly, in order to assess whether or not it is responsible, one looks not so much at the kind of challenges that we face, but you also look at what has been the response, or what is the response to those challenges. And the responses to some of those challenges, in fact, I believe have been remarkable. What we are seeing is that the face of political leadership is systematically changing. We're seeing a different kind of leader emerging, younger, dynamic, with lots of energy, very firm values. At the moment, maybe still more at local and provincial level, but increasingly, I think we'll start seeing those faces and those profiles finding their way into the national leadership as well. People who are externally focused, who are genuinely wanting to deliver into the well-being of their constituency. So that certainly is changing. It is going to take a while before it changes completely, but we are seeing very positive first indications of a changing face of political leadership. I think a second thing which is really encouraging is that it seems as though private capital has found its voice. We're seeing less in the way of nuanced utterances on the part of business leaders, far more direct communication, and more very prominent leaders are becoming involved in initiatives that can contribute towards some of the very pressing challenges that we are faced with, like crime, like logistics, and so forth. Very recognizable names, very influential people who have command over vast capital, and that can activate the capital over which they have custodianship, activate that quite quickly and bring about positive change. I think something which is also very encouraging is the way that we're seeing private capital being mobilized towards that which is strategically important. I read a very interesting article just this morning suggesting that the amount of energy that's being generated from rooftop solar panels has now reached 4.4 gigawatts. It's 2 phases of load shedding, and it's jumped, almost doubled in the last year. So the private sector has come to realize that sitting around and waiting is not going to be the solution. We've got to jump in, and they're jumping at a rate that that I think is catching us by surprise. So 4.4 gigawatts of electricity already being generated. That's not the conduct or the behavior of somebody who's given up on the country. So we're seeing capital at work. We're seeing young people at work. We're seeing a different kind of energy. People not waiting for government to step in and fix it for them, but communities doing it for themselves. So the same sort of resilience that we've been working hard at as a company to establish to overcome some of the challenges that we're facing, we are undoubtedly seeing that becoming a feature also of society. More and more pockets of society are behaving in this way, and South African people becoming an increasingly resilient people.